Admiral Thundaar gazed through the panoramic viewport of the Imperial command vessel Sovereign Dominion, his four obsidian eyes narrowing at the small blue planet growing larger on the main display. 9,900 warships of the Krazarian Dominion stretched behind him in perfect formation, a testament to his species' military prowess and technological superiority. The fleet represented the mightiest armada ever assembled in the known galaxy. Enough firepower to reduce a dozen worlds to cosmic dust. Primitive backwater, he muttered, mandibles clicking in contempt. Barely 2 centuries of radio signals, and already they pollute the cosmic frequencies with their incessant babbling. His second-in-command, Subcommander Pelna Razorback, approached with a crisp salute. Final approach, trajectory plotted, Admiral. All battle groups report ready status. Planetary bombardment can commence in 47 minutes. Excellent, Thundaar rumbled, his gravelly voice betraying a hint of anticipation. And what of our preliminary scans? Any sign they have detected our approach? None, Admiral. Razorback replied with a dismissive wave of her taloned hand. Their detection systems are laughably primitive. We have been monitoring their communications. They are completely oblivious. Their military forces are scattered and divided by something called nations. Can you imagine? A species so backward they haven't even unified under a single government. Admiral Thundaar permitted himself a rare chuckle. How quaint. Tell me, what's their primary defense capability? Razorback consulted her data tablet. Nuclear weapons, sir. Crude fission and fusion devices. Conventional projectile weapons. A handful of rudimentary directed energy prototypes. Nothing that could penetrate our shields. And their space presence. Minimal. A small orbital station, a few hundred satellites. No meaningful military assets beyond their atmosphere. Thundaar nodded with satisfaction. The Supreme Emperor would be pleased with this conquest. Earth was strategically located near several valuable hyperspace lanes, and preliminary resource scans showed abundant water and mineral wealth. The primitives would make adequate slave labor for the mines, and those who proved too troublesome would feed the Imperial war beasts. Prepare the standard Conquest broadcast, he ordered. Let's give them the customary 1 hour to surrender before we begin sterilizing their military installations. Yes, Admiral, Razorback responded, already tapping commands into her console, that a junior communications officer suddenly straightened at a station. Admiral, I'm detecting a transmission from the planet's surface. It appears to be directed at us. Thundar's head snapped around. Impossible. Our stealth systems are impenetrable to their technology. Nevertheless, sir, they are hailing us on a precise frequency matching our fleet's command channel. The bridge fell silent. Thundaar felt an unfamiliar sensation, a twinge of unease crawling down his armored spine. Put it through, he ordered after a moment's hesitation. The main view screen flickered, and the image of a human appeared. The creature was small, pink-skinned, with only 2 eyes and an alarming lack of proper exoskeletal protection. It wore a simple dark uniform with minimal insignia. Greetings, Admiral Thundaar of the Krazarian Dominion. The human spoke in perfect Imperial standard, its bizarrely flat face arranged in what Thundar's cultural briefings identified as a smile. My name is Director Samantha Galloway of Earth's Unified Defense Network. We have been expecting you. Thundaar felt his blood run cold. This was unexpected. How do you know my name? He demanded, attempting to maintain his commanding presence. How are you speaking our language? The human smile widened slightly. We have had quite some time to prepare for this meeting, Admiral. Your invasion fleet has been on our sensors since you crossed the Kuiper Belt 3 weeks ago. As for your language, let's just say we have had some prior contact with your kind. Impossible. Completely impossible. No Krazarian scout ships had gone missing in this sector. No contact protocols have been initiated. Unless the Vicarian traitor, Thundaar hissed, realization dawning. The one who claimed his ship was damaged by an asteroid impact near this system 80 cycles ago. Captain Jorex, Director Galloway nodded. He was quite helpful after we rescued his vessel, particularly once we demonstrated our hospitality. He's actually become quite fond of our planet. Something about our chocolate and aeriality television being addictive substances. But I digress. Thundaar fought to regain his composure. A single information leak was unfortunate but hardly catastrophic. These humans might know who they were facing, but that didn't change the overwhelming technological advantage his fleet possessed. Your foreknowledge changes nothing, he declared with renewed confidence. You have 1 hour to surrender your world to the Krazarian Dominion. Resistance will result in orbital bombardment of your military installations, followed by a full-scale invasion. Your species will be subjugated, but those who submit willingly may be granted privileges as productive members of the Empire. Director Galloway's expression shifted to something Thundaar couldn't quite interpret. Was it pity? Admiral, I'm afraid there's been a significant intelligence failure on your part, she said gently, as though explaining something to a hatchling. You see, Earth isn't defenseless. Far from it. And we really would prefer to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. You threaten me? Thundaar roared, his patience evaporating. You, whose most advanced vessels can barely reach your own moon? Appearances can be deceiving, Galloway replied calmly. Perhaps a demonstration is in order? Look to your starboard flank, Squadron 7. Despite himself, Thundaar glanced at the tactical display. Squadron 7, 200 warships on the outer edge of his formation, showed green status indicators across the board. I see nothing amiss, he snapped. Your bluffs are dashed. The tactical display erupted in a cascade of red alerts as Squadron 7 suddenly vanished. 200 warships, each carrying over 3,000 Imperial warriors, simply disappeared from sensors. What treachery is this? Thundaar bellowed. Communications. Report. The communications officer was frantically working his console. No response from Squadron 7, Admiral. Last automated telemetry showed some kind of spatial distortion, then nothing. Full battle alert. Thundaar ordered. Shields to maximum. Deploy countermeasures. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as warning klaxons blared. On the view screen, Director Galloway remained perfectly composed. That was our displacement field technology, Admiral, she explained conversationally, as though discussing the weather. Your ships haven't been destroyed, merely relocated to a holding area about 3 light years from here. Your crews are unharmed, though I imagine they are rather confused at the moment. Impossible, Thundaar whispered, but the evidence on his tactical displays was irrefutable. Such technology would require energy levels beyond anything in the Krazarian technical database? Galloway finished for him. Yes, we gathered as much from Captain Jorek's ship. You see, Admiral, humanity has a rather unique approach to technological development. While your empire focused on expansion and conquest, we have been quietly solving some rather fascinating physics problems. Razorback leaned close to Thundaar, keeping her voice low. Admiral, we should consider strategic withdrawal. If they can remove our ships, that will dash silence. Thundaar roared. You would not be humiliated by these primitives. All ships target their major population centers. Weapons free. The remaining warships of the Armada began powering their main guns, the energy signatures building across the formation. Thundaar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Let's see how the humans handled 9,700 planet cracker cannons firing simultaneously. Director Galloway sighed, looking genuinely disappointed. I was hoping we could avoid this part. Admiral, please observe your ventral fleet sections. Before Thundaar could respond, the tactical display lit up again. 3,000 more ships, gone in an instant. Stop this at once, he demanded, genuine fear beginning to seep into his voice. Admiral, Galloway's tone grew more serious. You came to our home with 9,900 warships, intending to subjugate or exterminate us. I hope you can understand why we are reluctant to simply take your word that you will leave peacefully. A new alert sounded different this time. The sensor officer turned with a look of horror. Admiral, multiple objects launching from Earth's surface. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. On the tactical display, a swarm of signatures rose from the planet below, small, fast-moving objects accelerating toward the Krazarian fleet. The remaining warships began evasive maneuvers, but the objects adjusted course with impossible agility. Drone swarms, Galloway explained calmly. Autonomous defensive units. Don't worry, they're programmed for disabling, not destruction. The view screen split to show external camera feeds as the first wave of drones reached the Krazarian vessels. They were tiny compared to the massive warships, no larger than scout shuttles, but they moved with uncanny precision, attaching themselves to key points on the Imperial vessels. "What are they doing?" Razorback whispered in horror. The answer came moments later as systems across the fleet began shutting down. Weapons, engines, communications, vessel after vessel went dark, drifting powerless in space. "Targeted electromagnetic pulse technology," Galloway explained. "Your ship's systems will reboot eventually, but by then we will have your crews safely contained." Thundaar stared in disbelief as his mighty armada was systematically neutralized before his eyes. Thousands of ships, millions of warriors, the pride of the Krazarian Dominion, rendered impotent in minutes by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Why?" he finally managed to ask. "If you possess such power, why not simply destroy us all? Why this mercy?" Director Galloway's expression softened slightly. "Because that's not who we are, Admiral. At least, not who we are trying to be. Humanity has a long, bloody history of conflict among ourselves. We have nearly destroyed our own civilization multiple times, but we have learned from those mistakes." She leaned forward slightly. "When we finally unified and began seriously exploring space, we made a collective decision. We would not become the monsters we feared might exist among the stars. We would defend ourselves, absolutely. But genocide? Subjugation? Those are lines we choose not to cross." A profound silence fell over the command bridge as the implications sank in. These humans had the power to obliterate the entire fleet, yet they chose restraint. It was incomprehensible to the Krazarian military mind. "What happens now?" Thundaar asked, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. "Now," Galloway raised her eyebrows. "Now we talk. About peace. About your return home with a message for your emperor. About the possibility of relations between our civilizations that don't involve conquest or submission." Another alert sounded proximity warnings. The view screen switched to show dozens of vessels suddenly appearing around the Sovereign Dominion. They were sleek, elegant ships unlike anything in Thundaar's experience, clearly built for both speed and power. "These are just a few of our actual military vessels, Admiral," Galloway explained. "The ones we keep cloaked until needed. They will be escorting your command ship to our diplomatic station. The rest of your crews will be treated well, I assure you." Thundaar sank slowly into his command chair, the weight of failure crushing down upon him. 9,900 ships, the mightiest fleet ever assembled, and they hadn't managed to fire a single shot. "You should have destroyed us," he said quietly. "The Emperor will not take this humiliation lightly. He will send more ships, more warriors." Director Galloway's expression was almost sympathetic. "Perhaps, but perhaps when he receives our full technological assessment and understands the true balance of power here, he will reconsider. And if not," she shrugged, "well, we'll be ready. We always are." As the Sovereign Dominion was enveloped in a shimmering field and gently pulled toward Earth, Admiral Thundaar gazed out at the small blue planet that had just changed everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar stirring in his warrior's heart. A team might have been respect. And with that uncomfortable new emotion came a troubling thought. What if the humans were right? What if there was another way? What if the Krazarian path of endless conquest was not the pinnacle of civilization, but a road to eventual extinction? As Earth grew larger in the viewport, Thundaar realized that this small, unassuming planet might hold more than just military surprises. It might hold answers to questions he'd never thought to ask. And that, perhaps, was the most terrifying thing of all. The diplomatic station orbiting Earth was nothing like Admiral Thundaar had expected. Instead of a militaristic fortress bristling with weapons, it was an elegant structure of interlocking rings and transparent domes, offering breathtaking views of the blue planet below. Even more surprising was its population. Not just humans, but representatives of at least a dozen alien species, moving freely among their Earth hosts. "Impossible," Subcommander Razorback muttered as they were escorted through a vast atrium filled with diverse life forms. "These species come from opposite ends of the galaxy. Some of them are natural enemies." Their escort, a tall human male who had introduced himself as Diplomatic Officer Jackson Wade, overheard the comment and smiled. "Earth has become something of a neutral meeting ground in recent decades. We have found that shared meals and cultural exchange work wonders for interspecies tensions. Thundaar noticed a pair of Moldavian crystal beings engaged in conversation with a trio of methane-breathing vortex. In any other context, those species would be trying to annihilate each other. "How many alien civilizations have you contacted?" he asked, unable to hide his astonishment. "Formally? 37, Wade replied, though we have monitored nearly 100 others from a distance. We prefer to make official contact only when a species reaches certain ethical benchmarks." Thundaar processed this information with growing unease. The Krazarian intelligence network was considered the most extensive in the known galaxy, yet they had detected none of this activity. How is that possible? The answer came as they passed through a security checkpoint. Subtle energy fields washed over them, and Thundaar felt something change within his neural implant, the standard-issue communication device all high-ranking Krazarian officers carried. "You have been jamming our transmissions," he realized aloud. "Not just now, for years." Wade nodded. "Your neural implants contain automated data-gathering subroutines that constantly transmit to your central intelligence servers. We couldn't allow that during these negotiations. You have analyzed our neural technology?" Razorback asked, her voice betraying both outrage and fear. "We have analyzed everything, Commander," Wade said matter-of-factly. "Every piece of technology aboard your vessels, every weapon system, every communication protocol. Knowledge is our greatest defense." They entered a spacious conference room where Director Galloway waited, along with several other humans in various uniforms and formal attire. The wall behind them was entirely transparent, offering a stunning view of Earth's northern hemisphere. "Admiral Thundaar, Commander Razorback," Galloway greeted them. "Thank you for joining us. Please be seated." The chairs provided were surprisingly comfortable, clearly designed with Krazarian physiology in mind. Another disquieting reminder of how thoroughly these humans had studied them. "Let's address the gnarled tusk in the room," Galloway began once they were settled. "Your invasion has failed spectacularly. The question now is what happens next?" Thundaar drew himself up to his full, imposing height, mandibles clicking in agitation. "By rights of conquest, I should be dead. My crew should be enslaved or executed. The fact that we are having this conversation at all defies all military logic." One of the humans, an older female with silver hair, leaned forward. "Admiral, throughout human history, we have learned that military logic often leads to endless cycles of violence. Our goal isn't to defeat you so thoroughly that you are destroyed, but so completely that you recognize the futility of further aggression." "President Okonkwo speaks wisely," added another human, this one in a blue uniform adorned with numerous insignia. "We call it overwhelming deterrence rather than overwhelming destruction. Your empire needs to understand that peace with Earth isn't just a moral choice. It's the only rational one." Thundaar struggled with concepts so alien to Krazarian thinking. For thousands of cycles, the Dominion had expanded through conquest. Their entire civilization was built on the principle that strength justified dominion. To encounter a species technologically superior, yet unwilling to use that superiority for empire building, it was almost incomprehensible. "The Emperor will never accept this," he said finally. "Our entire society is structured around expansion. Warriors without conquest lose status. Our economy requires new resources, new slave labor. Then your society is fundamentally unsustainable," Galloway replied bluntly. "Any civilization built on endless consumption eventually collapses, either from within or because it encounters something it cannot devour. Today, Admiral, you have encountered that something." Razorback, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke. "What do you propose instead? That 9 million Krazarian warriors should simply return home and become what? Farmers? Merchants? Our genetic engineering has designed us for conquest." The silver-haired president smiled. "Commander, you might be surprised by the adaptability of intelligent species. Humanity itself has undergone radical social transformations throughout our history." "I don't understand," Thundaar admitted, his confusion genuine. A new voice entered the conversation, a human male wearing plain clothes rather than a uniform. "If I may, Director, I am Dr. Anton Nekemure, xenosociologist. Admiral, human civilization has repeatedly reinvented itself. We have moved from tribal hunter-gatherers to agricultural societies to industrial powers to our current post-scarcity state. Each transition seemed impossible to those living through it. And the warriors of previous eras? Thundaar asked. What became of them? They found new purposes, Nakamura explained. Protection rather than conquest. Exploration rather than exploitation. Creation rather than destruction. We still have military forces, as you have seen, but their primary mission is defense and peacekeeping. The conversation was interrupted as an aide rushed in and whispered urgently to Director Galloway. Her expression darkened. It seems, she said, addressing Thundaar, that your Emperor isn't waiting for your report. Our long-range sensors have detected another fleet entering the outer solar system. Considerably larger than yours, Admiral. The Reserve Armada, Thundaar whispered, genuine fear in his voice for the first time. 30,000 ships. The Emperor must have dispatched them when we crossed into your system. Murmurs spread through the human delegation, but Galloway remained composed. I see. And what would be your tactical assessment of this development, Admiral? Thundaar looked at her in disbelief. You neutralized my fleet in minutes. But 30,000 ships. Even with your technology, the casualties would be enormous on both sides. That's not what I asked, Galloway pressed. As a military strategist with intimate knowledge of both our capabilities and your empires, what action would you recommend? The question struck Thundaar like a physical blow. Was she actually asking his counsel on how to fight his own people? And more disturbing still, why was he actually considering an answer? I would attempt communication before engagement, he said slowly. Supreme Fleet Commander Drozak leads the Reserve Armada. He is less flexible than me, but not irrational. If he could be convinced of your technological superiority through demonstration rather than full-scale battle, Galloway nodded. A measured approach. I agree. She turned to her staff. Prepare a communication channel to the incoming fleet and activate the Helix Protocol as a precaution. As the humans hurried to comply, Thundaar found himself in an unprecedented position. Neither prisoner nor ally, but something in between. The familiar certainties of Krazarian military doctrine were crumbling around him, replaced by uncomfortable questions. Director, he said quietly, may I ask something that has been troubling me? Of course. Your technological advancement. It's beyond anything we have encountered in centuries of expansion. Why have you remained isolated on your world until now? Why not build an empire of your own? Galloway's expression softened. That's actually multiple questions, Admiral, but they all have the same answer. Choice. She gestured toward the spectacular view of Earth. 2 centuries ago, our world was divided, polluted, and teetering on self-destruction. When we finally developed the technology to look beyond our atmosphere with clarity, do you know what we discovered? Thundaar waited silently. We discovered the ruins of civilizations that had destroyed themselves. En Mars, Revenu, in the asteroid belt. Ancient cultures that had reached technological sophistication and then collapsed through warfare or environmental catastrophe. Another human continued the explanation, an elderly male with dark skin and penetrating eyes. Those discoveries shocked humanity into cooperation. We realized we stood at a crossroads faced by countless species before us. We could continue on the path of competition and consumption that had nearly destroyed us already, or we could choose something different. We chose differently. Galloway finished simply. We united our planet, healed our environment, solved our energy crisis, and decided that before we expanded outward, we needed to perfect what we had here. Expansion without wisdom is just conquest. And conquest, as you're now discovering, is ultimately a dead end. Before Thundaar could respond, a view screen activated, showing the approaching Krazarian Reserve Armada, a vast swarm of warships dwarfing even his own impressive fleet. They are charging weapons, reported a human at a monitoring station. All 30,000 vessels. Open a channel, Galloway ordered calmly. Then, to Thundaar, Admiral, I believe your insight would be valuable here. Thundaar hesitated only briefly before nodding. Whatever happened next would change the course of Krazarian history forever. Perhaps it was fitting that he play some role in it. The view screen shifted to show the bridge of the Krazarian flagship, where Supreme Fleet Commander Drozak's massive form dominated the command chair. His expression registered shock at seeing Thundaar alive and unrestrained. "Admiral Thundaar," he bellowed, "report your status. Are you a prisoner?" "No." Commander Thundaar replied carefully. "I am a guest, and I strongly advise against defensive action." "Explain yourself," Drozak demanded, mandibles clicking furiously. "These humans possess technology far beyond our understanding," Thundaar stated plainly. "They neutralized my entire fleet without destroying a single vessel or taking a single life. They could have annihilated us, but chose restraint." Drozak's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "You sound as though you admire these creatures." "I admire strength, Commander, as all Krazarians do. But I have learned there are different kinds of strength. The strength to destroy is one kind. The strength to show mercy when you hold absolute power, that is another kind entirely." Director Galloway stepped forward. "Commander Drozak, I am Director Samantha Galloway of Earth's Unified Defense Network. Your empire has launched 2 unprovoked attacks against our world. We have responded with minimal force. This restraint should not be mistaken for weakness." "Prove it," Drozak growled. "Show me this supposed power." Galloway nodded to someone off-screen. Moments later, a small object appeared in space near the reserve armada, a simple metallic sphere no larger than a scout ship. "What trickery is this?" Drozak demanded. "No trick, Commander Galloway replied. Merely a demonstration." The sphere began to glow with a soft blue light. Suddenly, a massive energy field expanded outward, engulfing the entire Krazarian fleet. Every ship went dark simultaneously, weapons systems and engines disabled in an instant. Drozak's face contorted with rage and disbelief as emergency lighting activated on his bridge. "What have you done?" "The same thing we did to Admiral Thundaar's fleet," Galloway explained. "A targeted electromagnetic pulse, but on a larger scale. Your ships will regain power in approximately 1 hour. No permanent damage has been caused. No lives have been lost." She leaned forward slightly. "This is but one of many defensive technologies at our disposal, Commander. We do not want this conflict. We do not seek the destruction of your people. But make no mistake, we will defend our world with whatever force is necessary." The silence that followed was profound. Thundaar watched as various emotions played across Drozak's face. Rage, disbelief, and finally, the first glimmerings of understanding. "What are your terms?" the commander asked finally, his voice subdued. "Return to your territory," Galloway stated firmly. "Take with you the knowledge of what you have witnessed here. Admiral Thundaar and selected members of his crew will remain as diplomatic representatives to begin formal peace negotiations." Drozak looked to Thundaar, a question in his eyes. "It is the wise course, Commander," Thundaar confirmed. "What we have seen here changes everything. The Dominion must adapt or face extinction." Hours later, as the reserve armada began its long journey home, Thundaar stood alone at a viewport, gazing at the beautiful blue world that had so thoroughly upended his understanding of the universe. The doors slid open behind him, and Director Galloway entered quietly. "Your Commander Drozak is quite the pragmatist," she observed. "Once he accepted the reality of the situation, he adapted quickly. Survival is deeply ingrained in Krazarian instinct," Thundaar replied. "Even more than conquest." "That gives me hope," Galloway said. "Species that can adapt survive. Those that cannot perish." Thundaar turned to face her fully. "What happens now, Director? Your people could have destroyed us. Perhaps should have destroyed us, given our intentions. The fact that you did not, it challenges everything I have known. Now," Galloway said with a small smile, "comes the hard part, building something new, teaching your people that there are alternatives to conquest, showing the Krazarian Dominion that cooperation can be more profitable and sustainable than subjugation. And if we fail," Thundaar asked quietly, "if the Emperor rejects this new path, then history will remember you as the admiral who tried to save his people from themselves," she replied simply. "But I don't think you will fail, Admiral. You have already begun to see beyond the limitations of your conditioning. Others will follow." As Thundaar gazed back at Earth, he felt something he had never experienced in all his cycles of military service. Hope. Not for conquest or glory or the favor of the Emperor, but for something far more profound. The possibility of change. 9,000 900 ships had come to conquer Earth. 30,000 more had followed. And in the end, the greatest victory had not been won through weapons or warfare, but through the simple, revolutionary act of choosing a different path. The humans had a word for it. As Admiral Thundaar, now first ambassador of the Krazarian Dominion to Earth, watched the stars reflect off the oceans of the planet below, he finally understood what it meant.